How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Tulsi Gabbard's new bill that seeks to take money from large corporations and businesses like Google, Facebook, Amazon, etc., that were allowed to stay open and redistribute that to small businesses that were damaged by this pandemic and could not stay open. Because it's not fair, right? You got a little guy over here trying to just eke out a living. He's closed and fined and everything else. Meanwhile, right down the street, you got the Whole Foods, you got Target, you got Walmart, whatever. They're making plenty of money. They pat from the window to the wall. It's unfair. So we're going to take that money, redistribute it, and then it's going to be fine. I think that's a bad idea. To me, it reeks of communism. Yes, I said communism, and I'm going to explain that and go down the rabbit hole in a minute. But first, let's watch this clip. In this clip, you'll see and hear Tulsi Gabbard lay out her plan. So don't take my word for it. Hear her say it for herself. After we get done watching that, I'll talk about what she said there. Then I'll give you the rest of my 2 cents, my deep detail analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Now, these big tech corporations, these big box retailers, they're going to emerge from this crisis stronger than ever before. And they will have a greater economic advantage over the small businesses who've been forced to close. I come from a family of small business owners. I know that small businesses are the backbone of our economy, making up 99% of all American businesses, generating 44% of our gross domestic product, and employing 47% of our nation's workforce. But according to a recent survey, 1 in 4 small businesses are going to close their doors in the next 6 months if current economic conditions don't improve. While this is happening, large tech companies like Amazon, Alphabet, Apple, and Facebook, they are posting record profits during this crisis and because of this crisis. It would be neither fair nor good for our economy to have these large corporations who have gained this competitive advantage over small businesses due to government mandated restrictions to maintain that competitive advantage in the post-pandemic economy. Now, during World War I and World War II, an excess profits tax was implemented specifically to prevent certain corporations from war profiteering or crisis profiteering, and to use those funds to provide assistance to those who were struggling. It is unethical and unconscionable that some corporations achieve windfall profits directly because of the pandemic crisis we are experiencing while everyone else suffers, and our federal government spends trillions of dollars to help those who are struggling, pushing our country further and further into debt. Now, my legislation, HRES 1267, calls on Congress to reinstate this pandemic excess profits tax on large corporations who are making excess profits because of this crisis and direct those funds towards providing economic relief and support to our small businesses.
All right, you saw that, you heard that. Now, I don't see how anyone would think this is not communism. This is exactly what communism is. When you take money from the rich, you give to the poor, you take quote unquote excess profit. What does it even mean? Okay, you tell me what excess profit means. I'll tell you what it means on paper according to what I've read, but what is it actually? You understand? So here's what she thinks that it means, or what I've read that it means. They're going to take the average of your profit from 2016 to 2019. And if you made more than the average, I suppose, maybe the top end, low end, if you made more than what they think you should have based upon your previous 3 years of doing business, then they're going to take that money and tax it at a 95% rate. And then they're going to get first dibs on that. Obviously, the federal government, they're going to get first dibs on that. And then they're going to, quote unquote, redistribute it to the small businesses. Now, here's my question. If they take 95% of the, quote unquote, excess profit and tax money, how much of that will actually get to the small business? You tell me, because government gets first dibs. It's not like, okay, Amazon will just cut some small mom and pop shop and pull down nowhere a check. All right. They'll pay their money, presumably, to the federal government, and then the government will take it and then they'll dole it out. But how much of that will actually go to the small business? All right. And okay, you have a lot of large corporations make plenty of money. They got lobbyists to say, okay, we're essential. We got us open all this, that, and the third. So they make plenty of money. They're allowed to remain in operation, allowed to stay open. Meanwhile, the small business, they're closed down. They're suffering over or whatever. But here's the question. How many small businesses, small little one-man operations flourished during this time? All right. It's a lot of them that did that. Okay. Furniture. If you have a furniture store at all, whether it be, a small team of people, a big chain, any furniture store, you made plenty of money because people are at home. They're sitting on the furniture all the time. They're not liking it. They see it every day. And then they get the idea in their head, hey, I need new furniture. Or my kids throwing my furniture up, my dog's turning it up, I need new furniture. So then they go out and it's a big rush of furniture. They're looking around their house. Oh, I need to improve it. I need to get some new cabinets, get some new floors, get new this, get new that. So then they're going out and they're doing home improvement. Hardware stores, whether it be chain or local, jumping. Okay, any kind of flooring, roofing, anything like that, home improvement related has been going through the roof right now. Okay, so any place like that, whether it be large or small, has seen a groundswell. Also, real estate, whether you're selling your house or you are a realtor in general, you building houses, you're a construction worker, you're booming right now because there's a big demand for real estate. People are leaving out of these blue areas, and that's something else. People are leaving. It's a mass exodus. You can't even get a U-Haul in New York, New Jersey, California, etc. People are leaving, maybe even Illinois. They're leaving, they're coming down south, and they got to have somewhere to live. And they're building houses, they're buying houses. It's a big demand for these things. All right. So just because Google, Amazon, Facebook, Walmart, etc. are booming right now, and they seem to be, which they are, kind of exempt from some of these rules, they're not the only ones that are booming right now. So who do you take the quote unquote excess profit tax from? Just big business? And how do we define big business? What if your profit like quadrupled from like a small amount of money to a big amount of money? Let's say from low six figures to high seven figures, for like 100,000 to 8 million. So do you get that same tax on you? What if you're a small business, a one-man operation? I mean, what are we actually doing here? And why do we punish big business? I mean, that's a serious question. Now I understand that some might be kind of, offensive. How dare you say that? Amazon, Google, Facebook, they take all this money and they're just greedy. It's not even like that. They're big business, yes, but at a certain point, they were small business. So I mean, when do we jump in and say that they're evil and all this and that? When they become big or when they're still small, but some of the same identity? That's kind of what I'm trying to figure out. But is it their fault? Is it the big business's fault? They might have lobbyists or whatever, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, who has a final say so over whether a business is shut down or not? It's the government, period. That's who you got to blame. The solution here, rather than trying to do $1,200, $600, excess profit tax on World War I, all this and that, rather than doing silly things like that, just open things back up. Because what are we doing? What we're doing right now does not make sense. You go to the airport and they say, okay, when you're in line, you got to socially distance. Don't stand too close to one another. But once you go on the plane, you elbow to elbow, window to the wall. So it's like, what's the point? Okay, I'm on this plane for 3 hours versus being in a line for 45 minutes or less, maybe 10 minutes or less before I hop on the plane and board. What are we doing? A lot of things that we have in place simply do not make any sense at all. That's just the reality of the situation. So I think we should just open back up. If you don't want to go to a place that has people in it, if you want to stay at home in quarantine, that's your business. If you're able to still make money, you can still take care of yourself or whatever, then that's fine. But at a certain point, we can't just be locked down forever. We just can't do it. I mean, you got the vaccine out there. That's kind of shaky. You've seen some adverse reactions to that. People going to the ER, all this and that. False HIV tests. I'm good on that. We can't wait for these miracle drugs and vaccines to just come out. We got to get back to life. Trying to have all these things like, these weird taxes and Tulsi Gabbard, backdooring communism is not a good thing. And I gotta speak on that right quick. Tulsi Gabbard and her whole shtick. I'm just not a fan of Tulsi Gabbard. She comes off as kind of a decent Democrat, somebody that's not too crazy, somebody that kind of has, she was on Fox News a few times. It's like, okay, she might be all right, but she's same as everybody else. She's talking about how she understands what the damage is from the shutdowns and all this and that. And, I'm for the small business against big business. Well, she's in favor of a higher minimum wage, 15 an hour. And if you know anything about economics at all, then you know that a very high minimum wage like that damages small businesses because they can't pay it. They don't have that kind of money to be able to pay that kind of money. No, if they can pay that kind of money, they're going to have less employees, which means less jobs, which means overall, when you multiply it, it's going to be overall less employment in America. So you're going to have less employment, less jobs, less small businesses. But if you are Walmart, Target, Amazon, Google, you got the money. Amazon's paying $15 an hour right now in their warehouses, so they're straight. They're good to go. They're already prepared. But if you are a small business, you can't afford to pay it. So high minimum wage and more government regulation, which is what she wants. Tulsi Gabbard wants more government regulation. If you're on the right, if you're conservative, your main thing should be less government regulation. And the less regulation that we need is to end the shutdown. It's simple. The government is the problem. So you want to put more of the same thing on top to fix it? It doesn't make any sense at all. You're still going to have the underlying issue. All right. And it's not fair to punish any business because they're making money right now. You punish the government for the underlying cause of the big corporate windfall for some of these big businesses. All right. But as I close, I want to say this. Tulsi Gabbard, not a fan. I understand that she has some things that she says sometimes it makes sense. All right. Of course. But this right here is no more than communism, redistributing the wealth. It's the same thing that they all say. It's the same thing that AOC, Bill de Blasio, Tulsi Gabbard, Andrew Yang as well. They all say the same thing. They're all the same. They're just varying degrees of the same thing, in my humble opinion. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think Tulsi Gabbard has a good plan of redistributing wealth from, big corporations, Walmart, Google, Amazon, because they made so much paper, so much Skrilla, as a cool kid say back in the 90s. Is it okay to take that money away and give it to small business, but the government first? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or do you pretty much think how I think, that it's not a good idea to siphon money away from big businesses or anyone that made a lot of money during the scandemic? It's not a good idea at all. Okay, we got to focus on having the government be less in our lives. If we can achieve that, then we're in the right direction. If you have a bad regulation from the government, you don't fix it by placing another one on top. It's like if you got a house with a shaky foundation, you're not going to try to reinforce it from the top with construction. You got to get down to the foundation and fix that first and then build a strong house on top. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.